Hey everyone, welcome to Chainsaw Man episode review. I'm your host, Javon Harrington, back to hit you with another video. And this is the review of episode 2 of Chainsaw Man, titled Arrival to Tokyo. Now, for those of you who aren't familiar with Chainsaw Man, or if you are new to this series, then please check out our episode 1 review currently on the channel right now. And I also recommend that you go read the manga if you have the chance to as well. Also, while I am going to be reviewing the anime, I am going to try to keep spoilers to a minimum, and I'll only refer to the manga when I need to, but usually I won't reveal anything that might be a plot going forward, but I will try to take some time to compare the differences between the two on an episode by episode basis. But without further ado, let's get into the review. So for episode 2, we pretty much cover Denji's arrival to the Tokyo headquarters for the Devil Hunters, and we also see his first full interaction with Makima. Now, the one thing I will say about Makima in terms of how she is presented in the anime compared to the manga, it's not all that different, but you can see the subtle changes. Now, I don't think it's lost on anyone who is a manga original for this series that when it comes to the overall tone, there's a lot more emphasis on the sexy and a lot more on the seductive side. And I would say in terms of the gore and the action and the violence, that's seeming to be relatively the same for the most part. Not much has changed in that aspect. But definitely when it comes to the character of Makima, she doesn't give off the immediate seductress kind of vibe. And I would say personally that really does work more towards presenting the character. What I mean by that is, if you're familiar with the Batman, and you're familiar with villains like Catwoman or Poison Ivy, those type of characters rely not just on their powers and their skills, but also in their ability to be seductive, in their ability to be sexy, to lure men into a false sense of security. And Makima has that in spades, and she does use that to an extent in this episode. But it's not from a place of just pure seduction, but it's also from a place of warmth, from a place of comfort. She comes off as someone who you want to trust, someone who you want to be around, even though in hindsight she's really just manipulating and playing games. But it's the subtleties of the manipulation that I really do enjoy. Whereas in the manga, where it might seem, it's pretty obvious that she's seducing Denji and that she's pretty much just using him for her own ends, like it's pretty much in your face about it, you have to pick up on it. But here, you're really left questioning her motives. Even Denji questions her motives when he asks Aki later in the episode, the character that we're introduced to, who is 3 years Denji's senior for working as a devil hunter. He even asks if what Makima is doing, is she good or is she bad? And it comes off not like in the sense of Denji asking in terms of if it really matters, but I think it comes from a genuine sort of concern. Because for Denji, from how he was living in the first episode, having nothing and pretty much being at the lowest of the low, for his life to have been upgraded this much, and it's all thanks to her, you see why he is so indebted to her in a way. And also in the way that she talks to him, the way that she treats him. Now, it's not lost on him that she does treat him like a dog. And, with the play on the whole dog thing, the idea of Denji pretty much going from serving one master to serving another, with the former being the Yakuza and now being with Makima in the devil hunting agency. For the most part, it's not done so in your face about it. Like Makima, she does still pretty much treat Denji in the sense of, I own you, or you're under my care. But it's not in a demeaning way. I would say in the manga, it kind of felt like teasing and Denji just didn't know it. But here, at the very least, even though Denji isn't book smart, he is still smart enough to recognize the situation. He knows what's going on, why he's here. But in the end of the day, he doesn't mind it, mainly because in the end, he's trying to get a better life. And I will say that the overall theme of this episode, I would say in terms of what I feel is the overall story of the first part of Chainsaw Man, is motivation. And for me, when it comes to the idea of motivation, and when you think about anime characters, when you think about their goals, their dreams, what they want to do, I would say Denji, along with newer gen characters like Yuji Itadori or Boruto Uzumaki, they are definitely a breath of fresh air for me. And I know a lot of people will say Jujutsu Kaisen is mid, and there are a lot of people who hate on Boruto, but I really do love their characters, and I relate to them a lot more than I say I could for other anime characters in the past. You know, because you had characters like Monkey D. Luffy, like Naruto Uzumaki, for example, and they are just so one track, and you kind of see where they splinter off a bit, because you have a character like Naruto, like Luffy, and you can see their traits in a character like Izuku Midoriya from My Hero Academia, in the sense of they have a goal, they have a dream, it's the one thing they want to do, it's the one thing they're shooting towards. You hear it from the very start of the story all the way till the end, from I want to be king of the pirates, to I want to be Hokage, to I want to be the #1 hero. And it's just, that's the only thing that keeps them going, and you get into that story, so you want to see them succeed, but once it's over, you know, what's left after that? You know what I'm saying? And one reason why I am such a big fan of High School DxD, why I truly do love that series, from the light novels to the manga to even the anime, it's because the character of Issei Hyodo, and you can kind of see traits of Issei in Denji, not just in the sense of the perviness or because, you know, he just wants to try to get some boob, but it's really because they don't have any big overreaching goal or some universal goal that's going to shake the foundation of the world that they're in. Like for Naruto, to be Hokage, to be a part of the lineage of the Hokage, that's something that's world shattering, or at least that's something that will affect the world as a whole, so it plays into a bigger part of the sphere. Or for Luffy to be king of the pirates in the world of One Piece, it means that Luffy's actions, everything he does, will play a part into the history and the foundation of the very world itself. But when you have a character like Issei, who he just wants to become a harem king, he just wants a harem of his own. I mean, sure, you could say that it plays into the world in a way because of the girls in his harem, but in the end of the day, he just wants a harem of cute, beautiful girls that he actually likes. So that could be any set of girls. It's not something that affects the fate of the world. And for Denji as a character, I truly love the fact that he just enjoys the simple things in life. From taking a bath to eating toast with all sorts of jams, jellies, and honeys and butter, and just overall just trying to live and find the things that he enjoys. He doesn't have this big overarching goal. Like, for example, you have the introduction of the character of Aki Hayakawa, and you learn from this episode that he has a backstory of hating devils because his family was murdered by devils. So he pretty much wants to kill all the devils. It's your typical sort of like anime revenge plot, you know, from Sasuke with the Itachi thing. You know where I'm going with that. But it's cool because you have a character like that, but it's not the main character. It's not the main focus. Because this episode, when I say I think the theme is motivation, you have that scene in the alleyway where Aki pretty much beats down on Denji because he doesn't think he's taking it serious. He says, you know, there are a lot of people who become devil hunters for the money, for the fame, and things like that, and they all just end up getting killed very quickly. And he doesn't believe that Denji's motivations or his goals are anything that are worthy or worth making him a devil hunter. And pretty much Denji's response is to take him to Dick Kick City, because it was just really funny seeing it animated, the way that Denji just gets back up after he's been beaten down, and he hits Aki with something he didn't see coming, which is kicking him in the nuts and then just stomping his nuts into the freaking ground, and doing it with no remorse at all, showing just his overall attitude towards life and everything itself. Like, Denji, he's a scrappy guy. He's a guy that's not afraid to get down and dirty to do what he needs to do. And it really does play into the idea, because you have someone like Denji and you have someone like Aki. Aki, who you could say is your typical anime protagonist, and Denji, who's your unconventional anime protagonist. And I think they work so well together because they're so different, but even still, they can respect one another's ambitions, the dreams, the drive. And I think a lot of times, even in our own world, in our own society, we always have to think that having motivation and drive in a certain way is what it takes to have success. Some people, they're motivated by these big, traumatic experiences in their lives, and it pushes them, it propels them to go forward, to go beyond. For example, you have players in the pro sports, from NBA to NFL, baseball, things of that nature. People who grew up in poverty, who they wanted to get out somehow, and playing sports was their way. And they dedicated themselves to being the best. They trained, they outworked everyone to get themselves from out of that bad situation, to put their family in a much better position. And then you have other people in these sports who grew up in normal situations. Not that they were rich or poor, but they were middle class, you know? They took to playing sports, they got good at it, they kept going, and they became good enough, and they made the pros. And then you have other people who were well off, who were good to a point where they didn't have to go pro, they didn't need to, but they ended up doing it anyway, and they became pretty successful. And the thing is that each one of them have different forms of motivation. One is motivated by getting into a better situation. One is just trying to push themselves, and one just did it because they wanted to do it. And again, all of these are different motivations, but it still shows that you can get to the same point. So my point is that with a character like Denji, what I think truly makes him a unique anime protagonist, it's the fact that his motivations are so simple. They're not overly complicated. He's not trying to become the world's #1 devil hunter. He's not trying to avenge dead family. He's got a dead mother and a dead father, but they play no role in his overall dreams, his goals, his ambitions, nothing like that. And he's all fine because of it. Because for me, I would say what I truly relate to with Denji on a personal level is that I didn't grow up with my father. I didn't grow up having a father in my life, you know. No, won't go into too much detail, but still, I've never felt the absence affect me in a way to where I felt like I needed to do something. Like, sure, if he had been in my life, cool, but he wasn't. So, in the end of the day, it's whatever. And I relate to that with Denji because Denji's father was a deadbeat. Wasn't in his life. The only thing he left him was a whole bunch of debt, and pretty much stuck him in this never-ending cycle of pain. But even then, Denji doesn't let that affect him. He doesn't let that deter him in any way. He sticks to being who he is and being the kind of person he is. And you see that towards the end of the episode when him and Aki go to handle a devil. And when Aki asks Denji to use his powers, Denji doesn't do it. He simply takes an axe, cuts the devil's head off. It's clean, simple, quick, to the point. And Aki, he believes Denji's lie that Denji did it to try to be sympathetic to the devil. But really, he just didn't want to destroy the Playboy magazines on the ground. And again, that's a simple motivation. It's a simple goal in mind. Denji wanted to see some boobs. He found a quick way to do it. He didn't want it to be destroyed by him going berserk with the chainsaws. So he found a quicker way to get what he wanted. And for me, I think that tells you a lot more about the character than anything else. It's the fact that he chose the quickest way to end the fight just to get his hands on some Playboys. I mean, you'd think that that would sound so absurd, and in our minds, you may think it's absurd, but in the end, that's Denji's dream, that's his goal, and that's his motivation. And his motivation is what gets him through. And all in all, I think that that's something you can apply to in life. You know, whatever motivates you to get up, whatever motivates you to do what you have to do, you shouldn't let other people look down upon you for having those motivations. If your motivation for why you work is to make money, to live a better life, and you have no other reason greater than that, then it's no different than the guy who's working to provide for his family. It's no different than the guy who's working for another dream or another dream. The thing is that, like Denji, we all have dreams. We all have goals. We all have things that we want to pursue in life. And we have different motivations, different things that want to get us there. And for a character like Denji, he's motivated because he wants to fulfill his promise to Pochita, to live the kind of life that they've always dreamed of. And for Shinji, this is the start of him trying to live that life. But at the same time, Denji, we also see him start to question whether or not if this is everything he truly wants. Because sure, he checks some things off, like he gets to have a good meal, he gets to try toast with all the jams, he gets to have a good bath, a place to sleep, and all these things, you know, he's checking them off one by one, but at the same time, it still feels a bit empty. So, is there more to it than that? Even if you have a simple goal, is that the only goal? Can you have multiple goals? And you know, I just feel like these are the type of things that you think about when you have a story like this. In the sense of, you have different motivations, you have different goals. When you reach those goals, is that the end, or is there more to it than that? And I think it really does display the complexity of life. Especially for an anime, for a shonen. Because more often than not, you have, again, like the animes I've mentioned before, like Naruto, like One Piece, like My Hero Academia. You have these characters who have these one-track goals, who have these, they're so focused on doing this one thing, and we follow them, and then they finally accomplish the one thing they always wanted to do, and then, you know, you can't help but think, you know, what's left? What do you do after that? Like, what happens after Naruto becomes Hokage? He's just working a desk job. Like, sure, he occasionally has to go fight and defend the village, but if he's not doing that, you're just working a desk job. But I mean, you want to be Hokage, so is being Hokage everything you thought it would be? For Luffy, he wants to be king of the pirates, but once he's king of the pirates, you know, what happens after that? What's the next adventure? I mean, if there's not another adventure, then sure, you can enjoy the adventure and the friends you made along the way and all that good stuff, but still, you know, is there more to it? Or with Izuku, he wants to be the #1 hero. We're following the story of how he became the #1 hero. But when it's all said and done, when he's the #1 hero, is there more to life than just that? And I think all in all, that's one of the bigger things of Chainsaw Man, is that in terms of life, is there more to it than just your goals, your motivations, your ambitions, your dreams? Is there more to it than just what we try to go after on a daily basis? Because once you've reached a certain point, once you've reached a certain limit, you're really stopping and you're left thinking to yourself what's left or what's out there for you. But all in all, it was a really good episode. Introduction to the character of Aki, and you'll see more of him as the story continues. At the tail end, we did get the introduction of Best Girl, absolutely Best Girl. Her name is Power. She is supreme in every way, shape, and form, and I will not hear any different. Even during these reviews, I will make it perfectly clear. I am a power simp. I am a power simp till the day I die. Makima, forget about her. Riz, I couldn't care less about her in any way, shape, or form. I couldn't care. I'm being entirely honest. I'm talking about a character that hasn't even been introduced yet. Still don't care about her. Only girl I care about is Power. Sure, she doesn't smell all that good. Yeah, her table manners are absolutely trash. But you know what? We can fix her. But you know what? No. She's so perfect, she don't even need to be fixed. Power, it's all about Power. Absolutely. Next episode, it's going to be Power's time. It is Power's time to shine. And I am here for it. Everyone who loves Power, let me know down in the comment section below. There will be no Power slander. I don't ban people on this channel. I really don't. I try to be chill about a lot of things. But when it comes to my waifus, that's when you bring out another side of me. That's when you bring out the side of me that I didn't even know I had. I didn't even know I could get like this. But there will be no Power slander in these reviews, or when I do future what ifs. There will be no Power slander. Power will get her time to shine, especially the way she curb stomped that freaking sea cucumber devil, which only goes to show you how crazy people's fears are. I mean, who on earth is afraid of a sea cucumber? It's a sea cucumber. You can't even eat a sea cucumber. So how are you afraid of one? But I digress. Anyway, that's the end of the review of episode 2 of Chainsaw Man. Stay tuned next week as we will be doing episode 3. But anyway, that's going to do it for the end of today's review. I'm Javon Harrington with PowerCore Productions and Podcastings, signing off, and I'll see you next time.